Islam did not attack the World Trade Center. Al-Qaeda did. To implicate all of Islam for the actions of a few who twisted a great religion is unfair and un-American.
Wow. And with us now, Manhattan Borough President Scott Stringer, and joining us from Washington, Chair of Islamic Studies at American University, Professor Akbar Ahmed, Pakistan's former ambassador to the UK, and he's also the author of the book Journey into America, The Challenge of Islam. Gentlemen, great to see you both. Professor, I'm going to start with you because I know you listened to what Dick Morris just said, and there is a national concern growing, I believe, about what the imam, the controversial imam, has said about America being the most compliant, Sharia-compliant country in the world. Your take?
Laura, I heard the discussion by Dick Morris. I was in charge of large parts of Pakistan as the head of the administration. So there is a problem in administering law and order in that part of the world among Muslims. There is Islamic law, there is tribal law, there's law that was influenced by the British colonial law, which is modern law, and then there's state law. So 4 parallel systems of law overlapping. There's generally a lot of confusion, so ordinary Muslims find it very difficult to get honest, swift justice. The notion that Sharia law prevails in the Muslim world is just not correct. The notion that it prevails in America is not correct either.
But what about the stoning of the Taliban? Very obviously seem to be quite emboldened in recent weeks. I mean, stoning of a couple accused of adultery in Saudi Arabia, guys about to be paralyzed with a meat cleaver because of an eye for an eye, justice being meted out. I mean, what's that if not barbaric Sharia law being meted out?
That is absolute barbarism and should stop. But again, Laura, that is very, very limited. I give you examples, for example, in Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, there is no Sharia law. This is very important to understand. And as far as the mosques here are concerned, as you know in my book, I traveled throughout the United States, went to 75 cities, went to 100 mosques. And we have a lot of detail about how these mosques actually function. Yes, some of them need to be reformed, streamlined, brought up to date, certainly be more culturally sensitive to living in America. I would be very concerned about the imams who trains them, what is the kind of syllabi they're preaching, what they're preaching. But we need not, we cannot just simply paint with this broad brush. I think we need to be very careful about, because it tends to demonize the entire Muslim community.
Right, which is not what the intent is. Scott, let's talk about this controversy in New York that's made, some people would say, a slow news month of August quite chaotic. Mayor Bloomberg has now staked his ground. He's doubled down. He made that comment about it's un-American. Just to throw the word un-American out seems to be a little odd. I don't know anyone who's conflating law-abiding Muslims in the United States with al-Qaeda. It's about the sensitivity of the place at ground zero.
There's no doubt about it. As someone who was in Manhattan on that terrible day when the terrorists attacked, we will never forget that, and we will always honor the families and the people in that community who didn't walk away from New York. They actually stayed and rebuilt the community. Having said that, a few very well-orchestrated agitators have created a situation where we have now seen Tea Party people going after Jewish American elected officials, Mayor Bloomberg, myself, the Speaker of our State Assembly, Shelley Silver. They're using this as a national political wedge issue. And I have to tell you something. Today we now have a report that a cab driver was stabbed when he told a passenger that he was Muslim.
All right, well,
now,
we don't know the details.
Well,
I mean, throwing out examples like that, we don't know the details.
But I have to tell you something. It's building.
Well, let me tell you,
we should tone this down.
You want to do an anecdote like that? I'm going to throw down a dueling anecdote. No, I'm going to keep the temperature up because I think this is important.
Well, you're keeping the temperature up because you're just you're creating something that doesn't exist. Well, of course you are. And the reason I'm on the show is because we have to fight back and let America know that we're not like this.
America disagrees with you vehemently.
America does not disagree.
77% of the country disagrees with you.
They do not disagree that we should use anti-Semitic slurs, that we should go after Muslim cab drivers.
Let me get in here. What happened at Ground Zero?
Tea Party friends trying to create an election issue, and we all know it.
I mean, you dismiss the Tea Parties, but they're obviously having huge and positive influence in the United States. What happened at Ground Zero in these dueling protests, and I think the more protests, the better, on both sides. I think
Well,
people should
constructive
have their...
debate is
well,
good.
it's not up to you to determine what's constructive. That's the elite's little
no,
trick.
but I have
That's the
but I have an
elite's trick
opinion
here.
too.
You have
can
an
call
opinion,
me.
but let me just tell you what else happened, because you raised the issue
Sure.
of Judaism in this debate. There was also an exchange, and Andrew Breitbart has this posted on his website. You should see it, because a pro-mosque protester got in the face of an 83-year-old man who said he was a Holocaust survivor. He got in his face and he said, "You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what the Constitution..." I mean, he's in the face of this old man who survived the Holocaust, who doesn't want this mosque
terrible,
there.
but I have to tell you something. I'm talking about Sarah Palin and Newt Gingrich, people trying to divide this country and divide the city of New York.
Trying to divide this country?
It's not
Do you
gonna
agree
work
with this imam that America has more blood on its hands than Al-Qaeda? Do you agree with this imam?
I believe that we should have an opportunity for everybody to come together.
Why, how about an opportunity to
we
hear
don't
from him?
go take away people's property. We don't raid people.
I'm not saying we have a right to do any
You're
of that.
doing that every day. You're doing that every day.
They have a right to build this mosque. We have a right to raise questions about funding, and you as an elected official should have an obligation
You told
to ask
Daisy
this
Khan,
imam,
you told them on this show in December 2009, you said you're doing the right thing. You're doing great work. Rabbis supported. You actually started this,
Laura. Do you believe America has blood on her hands?
You supported this, and then you
won't answer the question,
that you left the studio. No, well, let me just make one point. I'll answer any question.
Blood
you then
on
left
her
the studio
hands.
and said,
Why don't you want these questions
what did
answered?
I do? I didn't stick to the talking points. I have to now go back and reverse myself because I need ratings.
I heard what you don't want to hear.
You agreed with them.
Pipe down. You know what I heard?
Yes.
I heard
blood on our
hands. I heard blood on our hands. I heard Americans are mean and they're Islamophobic and they hate Muslims if they disagree.
But why did you support the Cultural
bridges?
Center in December 2009?
I absolutely support assimilation.
Okay.
I don't support founders of an organization who actually believe that America is the equivalent of Al-Qaeda when destroying Muslim lives.
You know what? Let's go to the FBI and Homeland Security. If you have information I don't know, we should hear. But in the meantime,
read the
December 2009.
Speech. You apparently don't care what he says.
You
just
supported
don't care.
this before Michael Bloomberg, before anybody else.
I supported assimilation. You better believe
you
it. And
said
Professor,
what they were
I'm
doing
sorry,
was the
you got
right
short
thing.
shrift here. But do what you need to do and ask the questions.
I'm just endorsing what you said what should happen.
That's so weak. Do you actually get elected with that
December
kind of line? That is so lame.
Overwhelmingly, I might add.
That's the
as
problem
a Democrat.
in Manhattan. Up next, Vice President